Welcome back. Let's discuss politics now. The political atmosphere in Edo State has assumed a different dimension as a federal high court sitting in Abuja has reinstated the impeached deputy governor of the state, Philip Shaibu, back to office. Justice James Omotosho, who delivered the judgment on Wednesday, July the 17th, declared Shaibu's impeachment by the Edo State House of Assembly on April 8, 2024 as illegal, unconstitutional, null and void. Shaibu was impeached after being accused of misconduct, perjury, and disclosure of government secrets. His impeachment was undertaken after the House adopted a report now of a 7-member investigative panel. However, Justice Omotosho ruled that the House failed to comply with due process in impeaching him. In the judgment, Justice Omotosho now set aside the appointment of the new Deputy Governor, Marvelous Omobayo, who replaced Shaibu. He further ordered that Shaibu's salaries and allowances from April to when he was impeached should be paid to him in full. In its response, the Edo State House of Assembly has appealed the judgment and filed a stay of execution pending the appeal. The judgment now follows months of battle between Shaibu and Governor Obaseki, which of course has seen accusations and counter-accusations, apologies and court cases, all of which were believed to be the aftermath of the duo's strained relations over Shaibu's ambition now to contest the Edo State governorship poll. Well, joining me now to discuss this further is legal expert Ivan Sufeli, who joins us in the studio, and joining us now via Zoom is political affairs analyst Victor Okai. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming on the program. Let me start with you, Ivan. You are the lawyer here. What exactly does this judgment, what exactly does it mean? Does it mean that Shaibu is now back as the deputy governor of the state? What about the appeal filed by the House of Assembly?
The State House of Assembly have filed a stay of execution. And in law, once a judgment is delivered and the adverse party or the judgment debtor is appealing or wants to appeal, what he will do first is to file a motion to stay execution of the judgment itself. And that is what the state have done. So every order made by Justice Omotosho will be stayed. All actions will be stayed. In other words, the current deputy governor will continue in office because there's already a motion to that effect to stay execution. Okay? And until the substantive case is dealt with, that is the appeal, that's to the Court of Appeal, and perhaps if they are going to go to the Supreme Court, until all that is exhausted, you cannot, the former Deputy Governor, Shaibu, cannot go in. Though he is supposed to be seen today as a substantive Deputy Governor. Yeah, but because of that motion to stay execution pending appeal, action cannot be taken until all the options of appeal have been exhausted.
Now, if this appeal drags on, just as you have said, that it might get to the Supreme Court, and then let's say it goes to the Supreme Court and the tenure of the governor ends, what happens to the case?
Yeah, what happens is
would it have any retroactive effect?
No, you know, it will be settled in law and on record that he served through his term and his emoluments and salaries.
So that's if he wins at the appeal?
Yes.
Up to the Supreme Court?
Yes,
okay.
it will be on record that his impeachment was illegal, because if you see the way the impeachment was concocted, it was one that didn't follow procedures. I mean, all the procedures they need to follow, from the notice to the 14 days required to his defense before the State House Assembly, to the setting up of a 7-man committee, for the 7-man committee to recommend to the State House of Assembly within 90 days, and for the adoption of his impeachment up until the last breath. The State House of Assembly of Edo State overstepped that and muggled everything up to a point where they could not sustain that action in court because they have already soiled the process.
We also heard the judge say that, look, all the allegations leveled against the deputy or the impeached deputy governor now were not known to law, that they are actually not constitutional. What have you got to say about that?
They were not grounds for impeachment. The grounds for impeachment known to law is gross misconduct. Gross misconduct must be defined in law in itself. So they were not. That is why you notice that the judge also gave an order of perpetual injunction against the governor and everyone at the State House of Assembly, okay, that they should not interfere with his office, his duty in office, and they should ensure that even the IG of police also got an order to reinstate, you know, all his security details and all that. But all that will remain at abeyance until the appeals are exhausted.
Victor, let me bring you in here now. What do you make of all of this? I mean, for the PDP, it is preparing for the governorship election, which will be taking place in a few months, I think sometime in September or so. And it's having all of this distraction. Let's not forget there's also a case against the governorship candidate of the PDP. If you remember, a while back, a court actually ruled that he was not validly nominated. So that case is still there. I mean, that is regardless of the recent judgment now against the deputy governor too, where the court confirmed the candidate now as the genuine candidate of the PDP. But then he still has the other case to deal with. You look at all of this. Don't you think this is some kind of distraction that the candidate and his party, of course, do not need at this time?
Thank you very much for that question. Unfortunately, I don't know if we can actually say that it's something that the candidate and his party do not need, because the situation has been created already, and it's such a messy one. And the reason I find it messy is the fact that it was totally unnecessary. If things had run their normal course, I think what probably happened was a situation where the governor was probably afraid of the political machinery of the deputy governor, or afraid of some sort of disruption. Since the deputy governor, amongst the three of them, when I say the three of them, I'm talking about the candidate of the party, the governor himself, and the SY deputy governor. The SY deputy governor is the one that is the nearest to a politician among the three. And so he's capable of disrupting, you know, the run of events as convinced by the governor himself. And so I think that the calculation is to get him out of the system so that he will not pose any threat. But in doing that, like throwing the baby with the bathwater, because right now the party itself has more political enemies than it can cope with or can deal with. And if we begin to look at them, Shaibu is just one. And you know what they say, the enemy of my enemy, of course, is my friend. So you can be sure now that Shaibu would have joined people like Danobi, the vice chairman South, who is at loggerheads with the governor, is at loggerheads with the governorship candidate, Obedeyama, whose supposed mandate was almost literally handed over to Shaibu. And so those who have ganged up right now, because it was alleged that Shaibu, I mean, not Shaibu, against Obaseki. It was alleged that Obaseki never kept his own end of the bargain. And so those who are up in arms against him. And of course, Obede was edged out as well. So it's like promises were not kept. And so
sorry to cut you short. Let me ask you this. Yes. Would you say that Obaseki is making it difficult for the candidate of his party, I'm talking about Asue Godalo now, that with the way he's handled the politics of the state, with the enemies he's created for himself, like the issue of the impeachment could probably have been better dealt with, and the question, just as you have said, was it even necessary to carry out that impeachment in the first place? So the governor himself has created a very difficult political situation for his candidate, and that at the end of the day, this might backfire.
Well, I think the best way to describe it is to say that, you know, you are living in a house, and because you don't want thieves to come in, quote unquote now, you lace the house with minefields, with mines, you know, and you don't even know where they are. They are buried in the ground around the house, and now you have a sudden need to go out of the house, and you have to meander through those mines to be able to go out, or while in the house there's fire, now you have to meander through those mines in unidentified places in your house to go out. Any one of them can blow you up. And that is the situation that the governor has created for, not just for himself and the party, but for his preferred candidate. Because right now, Aswe has more enemies than he needs. You know, the party that should have been divided has been split right in the middle. The legacy part of the party, and you cannot ignore them because indeed they do have. I mean, that was the main backbone of PDP in the state. Now they are not with him. You know, so what the governor is now relying on is those he has politically empowered. You know, appointees who will now go back and campaign in their various localities. If they are politicians, they will try, but if they're not, it's going to be difficult. This was totally unnecessary for the candidate. I don't know how he will meander his way out of this fire through those minefields to safety, which in this case is winning the election.
All right, let me come to you, Evans. I mean, you look at this whole impeachment thing. The reason why the deputy governor was impeached, I'm talking about Philip Shaibu now, was literally because of his political ambition. But the question is, couldn't the governor have adopted another strategy? Couldn't the governor have still achieved his objective now of not allowing his deputy succeed him without even going the length of impeaching him? We've seen that elsewhere.
That was extreme because if you look at it now, you find out that impeachment is also costing them so much. Already, Aswe Ighodalo is the one that the National Working Committee adopted, and is the one that was nominated based on the primaries we saw. Okay, I mean the deputy governor only went on a voyage of his own to do another one the same day, and they came out as the winner of his own construct. Okay, so there was no need to push for this impeachment because now some of the allegations that he raised, that is Shaibu, were the allegations that the part of the members of the PDP used in court. You know, about 300 of them plus. Three representing 300 went to court, and before Justice Ian Ekwo, where he declared that he was not validly nominated. That Ighodalo was not validly nominated because the returning officer who did that went to sit somewhere away from the election place and manufacture the outcome. That was what the court said, and because it's not validly nominated, that was. Then the one that Philip Shaibu himself filed against Ighodalo,
which is a different case.
Which is a different case that has to do with forgery of his voter's card.
And the reason I'm emphasizing a different case is because people seem to be confusing both.
Yeah, people are saying the courts are giving different orders. No. One has to do with his qualification as regards the forgery, which is contrary to Section 182 of the 1999 Constitution, that says that a candidate that does not have a valid voter's card, you know, is not qualified. Okay. In that one, because it was filed 14 days after the primaries, so the court said statute by Justice.
And that was the one filed by Philip Shaibu.
Yes, James Omotosho of the Federal High Court now said, first, it's statute bar, okay, and second, Shaibu was not a participant, was not a participant in that primary. And you know the Electoral Act says that for you to challenge that,
you have to be a participant.
You have to be a participant. But if you look at it, that is also contrary to the judgment given by Justice Ian Ekwo, because the 300
but in the case of Ian Ekwo, he says these people were unlawfully excluded.
Yeah, they were unlawfully excluded. But 3 of them that went to court, 3 of the delegates,
they did not participate.
They did not participate.
But they were unlawfully excluded.
So you see, that one is also going on appeal. And then this one is already hanging. So by the time you look at everything, you will find out that the substantive governor of Edo State did not manage this thing very well. They should have resolved this. Perhaps call Shaibu, call Ighodalo, and then they resolve it in such a way that they can compensate themselves through other means. But what we have here is quite different. He didn't act like a politician. I'm surprised Because there's a way to settle things like this, not impeachment. When you impeach a man who ordinarily there are no allegations or the offenses you allege are not onerous, and then you begin to see that people will begin to
it's so funny to accuse him of disclosing government secrets.
Yes, people will start to empathize with him, and before you know, you are losing grip of what you have gathered before now. I'm just because the way it's going, PDP may end up not having candidate for this election. The way the thing is going, so I let them put their house in order.
And the blame, of course, will rest with the governor. Squarely.
Yes, it will rest on the governor because a court has already said he was not even validly nominated based on the evidence before the court, and then the one that was filed by Shaibu is the one that the court actually dismissed totally. So that one you cannot even go and litigate further. But for the other one that was filed by those three, except on appeal, it is overturned.
And then you have the impeachment case as well.
Yes, and then you have the impeachment case, which has been reinstated and all that. So the substantive governor seems to be losing the battle from all sides.
All right. Let me get a final word from you, Victor. You look at all of this, just if you have said, this is just, it's an unnecessary self-imposed crisis, if you like, political crisis on the PDP, brought on that party, of course, by the governor, who obviously did not manage this well. But is there a way that the party can actually wriggle out of this? And is there a way for the candidate to wriggle out? I can see that the candidate himself, I'm talking about Asue Ighodalo, has been trying as much as possible to distance himself from the governor. You know, he's been talking more about himself, not talking about the governor, not, trying to distance himself from the governor so that people could see him as his own person. And I'm just wondering, do you think that is the right strategy, and that it might have some repercussions along the line?
Well, right now he's a candidate, and it's his election, not the governor's election. The governor has almost literally run his term. I think that the sooner he can build bridges across, I don't know that much damage has not been done already, but it's never too late. In politics, 25 is a long time. If he's able to manage the situation and build bridges and probably have people talk to some of the aggrieved parties, and they're able to reach some sort of subterranean agreements behind the scene, it might help. But right now, there's too much bitterness, and he's a victim of, like they say, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and so he's a victim of
a problem he created himself.
Yes, of a problem that is not of his own making. It's not too late, but he would need extra intervention, and people who can really speak to these people. And if he must dissociate himself from the governor, he can't be doing it in a hidden way. He has to come clean. But there are implications, grave implications. The governor is not someone who takes things like that lightly and can be vindictive. So
I know you're I know you are also from Edo State. You also look at it from the other angle. Apart from the governor having these political troubles, he also has a problem with the Oba of Benin, and I'm just wondering what you think that might what role that might play now as we move closer to the governorship election. It's setting that this is a problem that a governor should not bring upon himself, especially at this time.
So you see, what is happening here is more like a bull in a China ware shop. You don't stay in there and begin to fight, but that's what the governor is doing. Unfortunately, it's not going to help anybody. There are going to be too many casualties. But there's one person, if you remember the case of Agbadala Jogbe and Sarumi, who were in the same party against Potedola, who was in NRC. I don't know if you recall the story. In Lagos State. This was exactly what happened, where they fought themselves to the ground, so to say, Agbadala Jogbe and Sarumi. And at the end of the day, the underdog, Potedola, didn't even have to struggle. He became governor. The same thing, history is about to repeat itself right now, because you have intra-party conflict here that is of even more gargantuan proportion than what happened in Lagos. And so they are destroying themselves, and the APC candidate or maybe the Labour candidate will just sit down and clean up. That unfortunately may be the case. No matter how well Aswe, who is obviously a great candidate, performs, if a house is divided against itself, there's no way it can stand. And that's it.
All right, I think we'll just have to leave it there. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming on the program, and thanks for your contribution. Ivan Sufeli, thanks a lot for your time.
My pleasure.
Victor Okai, thanks for coming as well. We'll take a short break now, but we'll be right back. Stay with us, don't go away. Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal. How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
Because when you go into public office, you must be ready to answer to the people.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places. The Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On DEJI360, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts, and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians are saying in this part of the world.
A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it, and use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranching.
DEJI360, dissecting the issues.